Thank you very much to Kaze and Corkus for the host. And while I have the opportunity, load. Thank you. Icy Eclipse followed, actually not that long ago, about an hour ago. Thank you very much to Icy Eclipse. Welcome to the Fox Den. What are we making fun of tonight, Anita? I have an idea, but he is. I mean, to be fair, everyone we've made fun of so far has been pretty contentious. But this one that I'm thinking has a more prominent internet, or rather had. I don't know if they're still around, but had a fairly prominent internet presence. And no, it's not. What's his name? The lost guy. Ethan. No, Ethan is the name of the main character. My style. Pardon me. Okay. Got style is back. I think that's everything. Quickly check this part. Especially since I actually do, in fact, need this up. Oh, it's her. Sorry, I'm in the cute animal. Thank you very much for the host from Style. Kaze, no, you can't refuse. That's not how this works. We didn't get a lot of new submissions this time, unfortunately, so I don't know how long this stream's going to be. I'm kind of going to have to look back at some older ones that were submitted that I never got around to doing critique of. We did get a couple new ones from our good friend Style, but that was it. I think more I honestly think you guys are more interested in seeing me rip into shreds other artists' work, I think. With that said, again, we do still have a couple of pieces I'd like to look at. Hi, Lyoko. Yes, actually, Kaze here actually did in fact make this both the original version of this song and this remix that you're hearing now. They also made the version that I play when we're closing up shop tonight. So, very cool. Hi, D. Oh, we're actually at 7:31. Oopsie doodle. Alright. And I have that turned off. Why is that still there? Although I did have another goal that's supposed to be on. What the hell? What the hell? Kaze, what the hell? Also, Fenbot, thank you for reminding people that I do in fact accept tips, which is so funny because I was currently putting up that, even though it's supposed to have already been there. Streamlabs, you make me angry. No, it's not bullying, it's the truth. Sorry, lo-fi music is taking a while to stream. There we go, Jesus. Okay, so we are going to start with a community, as per normal, we're going to start with a community critique. This is some works done by our very own amazing StyleFox132, and they submitted some expressions. And I wanted to take a look at these expressions and give them some tips. Because, especially with, I feel like I'm pretty alright at expressions, especially exaggerated ones. So, given the fact that they are meant to have this kind of, I think, sort of vaguely anime-ish quality to it, if I'm on the money on that, I think I might be able to help a little bit. Overall, these have some really good, like, foundations. Like, I like that you drew, like, the eyes a little bit more tense. I like that they got the little, like, kind of wrinkles around where the nose would, from where the skin is kind of pushing up. I'll hike my butt down to MA and hug you. I like the kind of hiding away their eyes and that sort of thing. And this is, of course, plenty cute. Alright, so keeping that in mind, let's take a look and see where I could sort of fix these. Not fix them, but you know what I mean. Hello, Weird Plush. How are you doing? By the way, if anyone watching this would like critique, if you want to go over to the Discord and shoot your stuff into the art critique channel, that'd be very much appreciated, because we only got the two submissions. Both of them were by StyleFox, and both of them feel more like one big ol' submission. Hi, T-Chap. Okay. I'm howling at the moon. I was actually very tempted to play that tonight, but I thought, actually, would your Beat Brony like that? Would Hasbro like that? Okay, so let's start with Rage. Again, you've got some really good foundational elements here. What you need to do is you need to push it further. As you can see, something that, and I tend to forget this a lot, actually, especially when I was starting out, is that the ears here should be moving. They should be reacting to their mood, because that's what you're lagging right now. Oh, geez. I haven't drawn in months. Oh, I'm sorry. Is anyone else lagging, or is it just Bro Dude? All right, excellent, Steerain SD. Fantastic. If you have any pieces of art that you would like critiqued, please feel free to shoot them into the Art Critique Discord channel. I will do my best to try and see if I can give some revisions as necessary. Also, keep in mind, while I do have 2 certificates, one for pre-animation, one for concept art, or concept art foundations. I am not a teacher. I'm not a tutor. I'm doing this largely by the seat of my pants and sort of passing off the knowledge that I have. Also, my critique are not the be-all and end-all. If you don't agree, that is perfectly fine. You do you. All right. These are meant to be a teaching tool, not a you must draw exactly as I draw. Just things to keep in mind, not necessarily be-all end-alls to consider. So, anyway, with that said, let us begin. I was talking about the ears. So, the ears, aside from the fact you could, you did actually do a good job, I think, at giving it a little bit more depth instead of, like, say, something that a lot of beginner artists, when they do ears, they usually just do something like this. You actually have a little bit of dimension there, and I think that that's really, I think that that's good. I think that that shows that you have a good sense, especially with, like, the cheeks, you have a good sense of 3D space. How often do you draw, and what are your ends for drawing? Is it just for fun? Is it something you want to do as your job? Is it, like, something you'd like to get, like, commissions done on sometime? My own internet is spotting on its own, so I could write general tips on the page I could look at later. Yeah, of course. I do not draw, I'm sorry to disappoint. That's okay, Steel Rain. Although I'm a follow artist, I do not draw, I'm a musician. I wish I could critique music, because that would be really cool. I'm probably not going to send art to critique as much as yeah, a lot of what it is I do hope we do get more submissions, because I don't want to say I was disappointed, because that comes off as I was so disappointed. No, it's more like oh, I was hoping for more. Not to say that I'm not going to enjoy working on styles pieces here. I suppose if we run out of time and I run out of subjects that I want to focus on, I could I could critique some more of my own art, I guess. Newspaper-worthy material. So something else I think that you could, again, I noticed you did a bit of exaggeration, but I think you could go even further, maybe having the kind of mouth hanging more open and kind of like something like this. Admittedly, your mileage on how you want to go about shaping it will vary. I'm going to give it kind of like slight in-depth, give it a little bit more extra depth. If, you know, it'll stop being dumb. Thank you. Okay. Add on the teeth there. I noticed you did actually try to add a little bit of depth to the teeth. That's good. It's very, very hard. At least in my experience, it's quite hard. You had the cheek here, kind of shape that up. You could also, if you wanted, you can kind of like emphasize certain shapes to be almost kind of pushing out if you want to go for a more exaggerated kind of design. But again, that's a stylistic choice. You don't necessarily have to follow that. For the most part, I draw for fun. I took a lot of classes during grade school and high school, but I'm mostly self-taught in the way of every furry artist. Sorry, I do not draw. In the way of furry art, rather, is what you said. Ah, fair enough. Well, in that case, if you're mostly doing it for fun, I do notice you've, you do seem to, like, grasp a lot of the fundamentals, which a lot of people who tend to just draw for their own sake kind of, and I mean, that's fine, because it doesn't matter to them, they're drawing for fun. But I do think that that's pretty cool. So, something that you kind of just, with the eyebrows, it's very just sort of at an angle. You could make that even, like, more intense, aside from making it push up more, adding in a little bit of extra shape, like a bit more intensity, I think can help a lot. See? Helps to emphasize the intensity of their kind of expression. And, you know, as per normal, I like to draw in the eyes in the sockets and then kind of draw the details around it. I think if we were to kind of have them looking this way, kind of in a more definitive direction, I think it will help kind of sell the expression. Now let's add in those ears. This is sort of something I do, but more I sort of draw out a sort of basic net if I want to draw the ears, but I don't always follow it one-to-one. It's more just to kind of give me an idea, a general idea if I want the ears to be positioned. Like, say, for instance, if I do this, I might actually find that perhaps shaping the ears a little bit more like that might make a little bit more sense. My future goal later down the line is to work freelance digital art and set up my own commission. Oh, that's awesome! Okay, well, I've got a bag of Cheetos next to me, and all I can smell are Cheetos. Just the poofy kind. Nothing spectacular, just poofy Cheetos. I know, the poofy ones are my favorite. I do like the crunchy ones, though I do enjoy quality art streams. I also enjoy listening to new phones found on the guitar. I actually took music class at school. Can't stick around this night. Hope you all... Okay, see you later, Leoko. We've got 13 viewers. Dang. Alright. Maybe kind of have his, like, neck stretching. You don't have to do this. I'm just doodling this because I can. You could, if you really wanted to push it, you could, like, maybe even, like, make them, like, even more exaggerated. Like, you could, if you were to take this, kind of shape it out, make them, like, pushed out even more further, maybe even kind of make them looking, like, more like this, where one of their eyes is, like, closer over here. This is a very, like, loose drawing, but, like, you kind of get the gist, and, like, really accentuate if you really wanted to. But that's a stylistic choice. That'll be up to you. Regardless, I would still say the main thing is, well, this does not look great, but you kind of get the gist. You could kind of, if you wanted, you could do something like you could make, like, the hair kind of almost, like, kind of poof up and kind of spike up. Though, again, that's not a great example. And kind of have them zoop out if you really wanted to. But again, stylistic choice, mostly just doing that for fun. The main thing is exaggeration. How would I react if someone were to raid? I have been raided a few times, and it's always super cool when someone raids. I always get super excited. Yeah, that is very important, especially when you're drawing, like, Anthu characters like this. Now, Soro here, again, I noticed that you did, in fact, you did take note that the ear should change. And so you sort of, I actually could have pushed it even more with this drawing. Like, I probably could have, if I kind of tilt it to the side a little bit. Sorry, so I know I keep going back to make fixes, but, like, hang on. I could probably, like, push it down even more, and it would probably look a little bit better. Let me just... a little bit lower on the head. Okay, yeah. I will say that the angle dimensions is more so intentional than not. Styles have Chinese, Japanese, do a dragon to so he has a poof and floof, but wants to accentuate sharp curves on the dragon half of him. I see that. I remember that one Final Fantasy 14 with like over 100 people. That was an experience. And Jesus Christ, that was No, we won't be talking about Butch Hartman tonight. We'll be talking about another artist, similarly conceited, though with debatably far less under their belt, but still enough of a following that I don't feel bad for making fun of them. With that said, I don't know how much time we're going to spotlight on him, though I think a lot of people actually come here for that, so yeah. Make of that what you will. What's actually funny is that the person we're going to be talking about tonight, I actually, for a brief period in my high school times, actually kind of looked up to them. So, admittedly, I kind of suck with head angles, so you're going to have to bear with me here. But sometimes doing things like tilting the head and whatnot can actually help to accentuate expression. MLG mounted and loaded, the most iconic line said. What? I'm afraid I don't understand. Sorry. But sometimes even, like, changing the, like, the angle can actually go a long way to help with expression. Subtle things like that, the way they carry their head, can sell it a lot and help make your character look less stagnant. I know you're just doing, like, the heads with the expressions, but even here, that can help sell a lot of pain. So, again, I kind of suck at head angles and whatnot. It's one of the things I'm honestly, like, really, really weak at when it comes to drawing characters and whatnot, is like head angles. It's always been something I've struggled with because there isn't really a hard and fast way to do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and the main thing you need to keep in mind is to keep in line the perspective of everything. I had a decent angle in the most recent drawing, I think. So again, I would say you could probably, if it's meant to be like Sora, you could like accentuate, he's baring his teeth, so you can kind of accentuate that a little bit more, kind of, just add the floof. The floof does admittedly help with the whole head tilting thing. Kind of, even if you're not drawing the eyes, I think it's, well, I mean, if they're all covered in shadow, I guess you don't necessarily have to draw on the like the eyes, but still having the sockets there isn't a bad idea, because I noticed you did kind of try and do that. What I'm going to do is you wouldn't have to do this if you didn't want to, but I'm going to kind of have the hair almost kind of shagging in front of the face, like it's sort of, which my British viewers are probably going to kick out of what I just said. Where it's kind of, and then we could add on, like, the extra, like, that on the nose. How hard are shaders? Because I've noticed a bunch of artists have some sort of problem with that. What's your take on that? How hard is shading? That depends on what kind of shading you're going for. How familiar you are with real-world lighting. And what kind of technique you use. Like anything else in art, it really does depend on the artist. I find usually I know where to place shadows okay. My problem is creating a way where they can still look organic. I sort of have, one of my main issues with my own art is a lot of my shading tends to look kind of blurry. And I've been sort of trying to research better ways to go about the look I want to achieve. Where it's kind of like there's hard shadows, but sometimes they kind of create gradients in without it being like super blurry. But right now I haven't exactly been finding a lot of great material. I forgot to draw their little ear ruffles. Sorry about that. 3D shapes can be quite difficult to figure out. I think that's less of a shadow thing. It's more like a life drawing or a a real life observation thing. Cell shading. So that's easiest for me. Cell shading is a pretty easy sort of start line. I'm just gonna add me a cheesy. Honestly, this one's not too bad. I think that I mean, they're all pretty good. Style. I will say that they're all pretty good overall. Snacks. Yes. Next up we come to, this is a very comedic piece, and I think that the main thing here is we could really exaggerate this, because, I mean, you've literally got a big old anime bump coming out of your head, or, you know, this character. So, I'm just gonna do this so I can figure out kind of the art, like, where I want the ears to be positioned from a very, very baseline standpoint, and then we're gonna draw the head, which I'm actually thinking, we're gonna kind of go a little bit more cartoonish with this. I'm gonna give it a kind of ovally look. Note for me, this is after... Nope, this is me after Kazi pulls up the newspaper. The Fennec eat the snack. Just a random video I saw on Twitter for Fennec. Yes! I saw that video. It is the best. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm just being quiet. I'm writing down I'm writing down the overall notes. Alright, so Style, I have... Owie, like that. Yeah, like that. Okay, Style, so here's sort of my overall notes for each of them. Let's review super quick. So basically, I think that overall you have a really good... You have a pretty good sense of construction. I can feel you drew out the shapes and figure out where everything was supposed to be. The only one that didn't really line up with that was this one. But this is a more intentionally cartoonish piece anyway, so I get why maybe you didn't want to worry about that as much. You're more concerned probably about the comedy of the piece, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. But I can tell you did think about the construction and that sort of thing, and that's good. That's really, really good. You are definitely developing and building up a better attention to detail, like sense for attention to detail than some of the last pictures that we looked at. Where things like you drew like the wrinkled kind of bridge of the nose, or the ears going down here, you know, things like that. There's definitely a greater sense of attention to detail than last time. My main thing that I would recommend would be to really emphasize on exaggeration. And I don't mean that you have to do a super cartoony art style, because here's the thing. Even in life drawing, it's very common where you'll have to do exaggeration. Pardon me? That's just a fact of life. Yes, D's art is very nice. Where you will have to exaggerate to at least some extent. And I think that especially with your style, I think that pushing that a little bit more could help a lot. Because not only can help it to be more aesthetically pleasing, I think it'll help you to come out of your shell a little bit more, because what I'm feeling is a very common problem with artists, I have this all the time, is a lack of confidence in your own work, like your own drawings. And I don't mean like in the way I do it where I say, haha, I'm a bad artist. No, as you're drawing it, you don't necessarily feel confident in what you're attempting to execute, even if you don't realize that's what's going on. I think drawing bigger and bolder will actually help with that. I would also recommend, I brought this up before, but you're still sort of feathering lines. It's not as bad, but it does create kind of a smudgy look. Broader, wider lines would be another thing that I would say. But other than that, you're doing a pretty good job. It was super cool to see you kind of, have a little bit more sense of construction, attention to detail. Good job, my friend. So I'm just going to save that, and I will put it in the Discord for you to review. Let me just go to, I think I have it saved in my pictures. Let me see. Feedback. Yes. Okay. New folder. Session 03. What was session 2 again? It was Ken Penders, I think? Yeah, it was Ken Penders. Okay. Yes, it is. Quick, confident lines. Because, like, hey, hang on, I'll say this, but I'll illustrate what I mean. / what D means. Oh, actually, before I continue, Style, do you have any questions? Not a problem. It's how I get my lighter to look as sharp as it does, as well as using a binary brush. Do you have any questions, Style? Before we continue. Yeah, I'll like leave this open and I'll start kind of displaying my point. So if you look at this line here, that's a very quick, just very fast, right? But then if I try and be like it's decently straight. But then if I were to like to try say to be meticulous about it, notice all the little like wiggles and things like that, because your hand is wiggling as it is closer to, as it spends more time on there, you know? You're getting more tense, you know? Uses a binary brush. Scandalous. But as you can see, now I think about it, you've technically seen me build my style from the ground up. I technically have. But yeah, as you can see, the longer, it creates more tension, and it makes your lines wiggly and ugly. So, just... Now, admittedly, this is something I don't always follow either. You guys have watched me sketch. Sometimes even I'll accidentally like feather my lines while I'm doing a sketch. It's kind of a difficult thing to get out of. Though I don't really do this that much anymore. They got that out of me in school, thankfully. Anyway, all right, you're good? Excellent, 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 excellent. Okay, so we're done that. I'm going to put that in the Discord. And just as a gentle reminder to anyone watching, if you do art, even if it's not a new piece, and you want me to critique it, please throw it in the Discord, because we don't have a lot of subjects tonight. Alright, Style, it's in the Discord for when you want it. Now, while we do that, today's subject of our not community critique from your favorite artist is always... Yes, it is. However, though, one of my not-so-favorite artists, and someone we'll be taking a look at tonight, is the art of... I think I alluded to this before... is the artist Andrew Dobson, aka Tom Preston. He was a sort of webcomic / kind of comic in general artist who specialized in getting into arguments with people a lot and was just generally kind of a jerk. I don't know if he's still around. I don't know if he's like, I don't know if he's still around, even if he is, he's not really around much anymore, but, he sort of has some consistent issues with the way that he draws. If I can find some, maybe, some less controversial examples of work that he's done, or rather other people have done about him, because I'm legitimately just trying to find some art of his, and not any of his old art. I'm talking about some stuff that's more recent that he's done. Let me see if I can. I'm not drawing that because that's in very poor taste, like Jesus. You see, I was going to pick these out, but nah. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, you know what? Let's take a look at this piece. This is a piece that he did of a character from the show Miraculous. This character, this is the main character, Marinette, and he drew, I guess, fan art? I don't know how he feels about the show, but yeah, he drew some fan art, and, just kind of looking at it, first of all, when he wanted to copy the insert, I'm pretty sure this is a tracing. Which, fine, it's for comparison's sake, but then just show the CGI. Don't trace it, dude. Wait, was he the guy who had a fit because an editor called his work? I don't know if that ever happened. Internet blood spores. Take inspiration from here. Hey, also, now I'm back in your Discord. Yay! Here we go, toasted garlic cheese bread. I have no idea. I can't say I remember anyone ever calling his comics that. Anyway, he's the guy who did the Brental Floss comics. Anyway, so a couple of things. of Jiro from My Hero Academia. A couple of things. For starters, Tom, for reasons I can't entirely comprehend, when he redid the art, he decided to make the pose like super stiff. I am here. Now, what did I miss? I critiqued Style's art because Style was the only one who submitted any new art today, so that's fun. Right now, we're taking a look at the art of webcomic artist Tom Preston, aka Andrew Dobson. I have no idea which one of those is his real name. Anyway, so yeah, as you can see, when he redrew Marinette, there's a couple of things. For starters, I don't... Okay, like I said, pose, very stiff. The pose is very stiff. You look at the original, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of life. She's kind of leaning over a little bit, she's kind of tilting her head. Here, she's just, I am standing here. This is what a normal person do. So what I would suggest maybe doing is maybe having her kind of going back to this pose a little bit, or even, like, at the very least, having a bit more, like, life in it. If we're going with this kind of, like, more rounded, kind of more over-the-top, cartoonish kind of style that Dobson's going for, I think, if I can kind of figure out a better way to angle this, maybe having it, See, this is always the hardest part, is figuring out how I want to rework the pose. What I could do is, see, because I had an idea in my head, and now it's gone. Yeah, anyway, a little bit of background on Andrew Dobson here. He's kind of a character, he's a bit of a character. He was always getting into he was always kind of getting into arguments with people online for, like, really silly reasons. And would often sort of not be able to really accept critique. There's also a few others, sort of, Andrew Thomas, no, Tom Preston. So right off the bat, something that he could have done was he could have tilted the hips and the shoulders a little bit. So just something like this. Something that, this is something that a lot of artists can do. This is something a lot of, like, that just generally is a good way to help with poses, is to have the hip and the shoulders going in kind of opposite directions. This guy needs some friends. You talking about Mr. Enter? No, I'm not talking about Mr. Enter. It's so funny that there's so many guys who are like this, that, like, people are all like, oh, is that Mr. Enter? Oh, is that such and such? No, it's, no, this is a different guy. He's been around the internet way longer than Mr. Enter. Does Mr. Enter even still draw? I know that he did for a bit. Does he still draw? Well, here's the thing. Tom Preston would have friends if he wasn't so aggressive with people. Fun fact, he changed his character to a Care Bear, even though as far as I can tell, he's not really a fan of the Care Bears, specifically to spite people who are critiquing the way that he redesigned his sort of avatar character, because, yeah, his avatar character kind of looked like a 12-year-old, which he wasn't. Like, in universe, he was an adult. It was him, but he kind of looked like a 12-year-old, so people pointed that out. So, some people were rude about it, and yeah, fair enough, but other people were just rightly pointing that out. So what do you do? Instead of maybe considering taking steps to refigure it out, or reworking the art, or saying, I appreciate the feedback, but... no, he turned his character into a Care Bear, specifically just to dick with people. Which on one hand is a power move, but on the other hand, I think that says a lot about his attitude. Oh, if time permits, could you maybe show how to draw hand paws, or just regular hands, or whatever you think, specifically doing certain things? A head reaching, or a hand reaching for something, a hand gripping, a hand clawing at something, and you don't have to get as specific as I did, but... Hands, I could try, but hands, not my specialty. I find hands actually quite difficult to draw, and I'm still very much a learner in that, so I wouldn't necessarily suggest asking me for help. I would only consider it a clean power move if he did it for a short amount of time. Yeah, no, it's just how it is now. I think since he's updated his character and he sort of uses it, because I looked up and I saw some art that I didn't recognize. I was like, it's Meet the Artist, it's Tom Preston. Or Andrew Dobson, whatever he calls himself, I don't know. And the character had both the Care Bear and the human version of himself, but the human version of himself looked closer to how he looked in real life. And so I guess he's still around. So that's interesting.
Squidward Gaming. Ha 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 ha.
My tip for drawing hands. Imagine them as regularly fleshed spiders that exist in 3D space. Your brain will do the rest. Aside from the fact that it's extremely cursed, I don't know if that's particularly helpful. I guess if I could just real quick, it's a good idea to break your hand down into, like anything else, simple shapes and segments. So a square or circle kind of for the middle. You could kind of draw this a little bit over here to give an idea of more depth and where you'd like the fingers to be placed. The fingers kind of sort of go in an arc where it's like where it's kind of like this, the second highest point, the highest point, same as the second highest, and then the lowest. So from there you can maybe draw in some circles or something, some establishing points to kind of give you an idea of where everything is. Then what I like to do is I like to kind of recreate that arc here, and then just because now that you've got this kind of paddle, you can begin to fill things in. Now I usually what I do is I start with just like sausages or like French fries or something, and then I just do this. Now, admittedly, I'm going to have to shrink down this hand because I think I may have made it a little bit too large. And then, when I want to get more into detail, what I'll do is I'll break these down into segments. The finger has 3 major segments, and they all kind of, they all have kind of similar lengths and that sort of thing. So keeping these segments in mind is important. I also kind of created a little bit too much space in between fingers, so I'm going to reposition some of these. Yeah, like I said, hands not my specialty, but I hope that this helps a little bit. As for the thumb, similar kind of deal. I draw like a basic shape and then I break it down, which allows me to kind of draw over it and reconsider the shapes and whatnot. The palm is not actually a square, so start like rounding it up, maybe drawing another circle here to kind of give you an idea. There you go. It's not the best hand in the world. In fact, it's pretty bad, but like, that's how it be, yo. I hope that was helpful. Basically, start with really basic shapes and then start to break them down as needed. Look at like the way that your hand doing the action is positioned and consider the basic shapes in it, and then start building inside those basic shapes. Those are my primary recommendations. But again, I am not the hand person, so I draw hands that function for the piece. I'm more concerned about the overall piece. JK, don't do that. Okay, I was about to say different image. For a while in older Tomorrow hands, I would pose ragdolls in Gmod. It was You know what? That's one way to do it. This program that I use, Clip Studio Paint, actually has 3D models that you can input in. Like, I actually have a pre-made model for Max's proportions. And if you look, you can actually change how the hands are positioned. And so you can actually do that. And in fact, there's actually even just things that are just hands. You could just have hands, and that's really cool. It's really handy for hand paws. I just tend to make the fingers only one segment, just big and round. Do you share any questionable? He did share some questionable political opinions. Mr. Dobson is very much a left-leaning political figure, and that's obviously like with their political opinions, and that's fine. That's what we are, mostly here. We're all pretty left-leaning political guys, but a lot of it felt like it didn't have a lot of like depth, or in some cases, dare I even say, especially when it pertains to LGBT cases, usually lesbians. It almost felt like a lot of his feelings and the way he would portray lesbian characters. In fact, he wrote Alex the Pirate, where the main character was a lesbian, and with her girlfriend. A lot of it came off as fetishy, like fetishizing. Maybe it wasn't like he specifically has a fetish for it, but like in a social sense, it felt like it was fetishization. I can't say that word anymore for some reason. It goes to show just how much I have fallen. I actually might reposition the hand. I don't think that or the arm. I don't think I did a very good job on the arm positioning. So let's go back. He's a knob. Yeah, he's kind of a knob. Yeah. You can find Tumblr blogs and whatever about the sort of kind of shifty behaviors he's had. He also didn't originally come on the internet as himself, if that makes any sense, when he first joined the internet way back when. I don't want to get into the details of what, but it wasn't technically anything like super awful.
but it was definitely kind of questionable, and again ties into the whole fetishization of lesbians kind of thing. I am messing up these legs. Something fierce. As you can see, Marinette's quite petite, so I'm not worried about adding in like especially since I think she's like what 14, so I'm not worried about adding in like the usual like adult like sort of female features, but there are still certain like telltale signs, and actually he mostly did it fine. I think he got the body shape down mostly fine. I did make her legs a little long, so I'm going to fix those. I've actually been doing that a lot lately. I've been sort of getting legs kind of weird and long or too short and very bulky looking. It's something I need to kind of fix. I notice sometimes my art's very stout, and that's not really what I'm going for.
Long legs. English is not so bad. See, he's a Brit. It's really switched to CSP. CSP is pretty goat, yeah.
I came from Paint Tool Sci, and Paint Tool Sci is a great tool, but like CSP is just so much better. At least in my experience, it's better. I have a friend who lives and breathes by CSP, so. Or rather by Paint Tool Sci. So I'm just gonna kind of just adding in that little bit of extra movement already adds a little bit more fluidity to the pose. Again, it's very rigid, as you can see.
I came from a bunch of drawing apps. I tend to never draw legs very long.
Fair enough. You do tend to draw them thick, though, although I know that's a stylistic thing. Okay, so drawing in the face, gonna draw in the sockets first, which I think he did, though. I think he got it a little bit warped. One of the eyes looks kind of uneven, which I understand what he's trying to do. The face is kind of straight on, but it's also kind of to the side. It's very strange. It's very weird looking. So I'm just going to go more for what the original pose did, where she's kind of looking straight on. Admittedly, I've done that too, so not too much to say on good old Dobster. On that regard, I don't have as much bad to say about him as I do someone like Butch Hartman or something. Admittedly, drawing Nose's head on is kind of a pain in the bum. You know, I'll deal with that in a second when I've gotten the rest of the net of the face down.
Squidward Gaming. Ha 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 ha.
Nothing wrong with thick legs, Bonk. From what I've learned about politics on the internet, what I label as political toxicity is the ravenous desire for conflict and getting into online arguments or letting opinions get in the way of social relationships, unless it's like phobia. I've seen it on the other end of the spectrum. Squidward Gaming. Large legs are my jam, to be honest, which is a stylistic thing. I can't say I don't love big legs. Thick.
So let's draw in those big old sockets, and then we'll draw in kind of the eyes. I'm probably gonna go for at least a kind of anime kind of look. In which case, I might kind of need to anime-ish. I don't want to say it's flat-out anime. Anime facing forward, because sometimes drawing anime noses facing forward, it's kind of hard, honestly. Actually, just drawing faces forward in general. This one kind of draws it as mostly just like a line, like a couple suggestions of lines, and I kind of like that. So I'm gonna just kind of do this instead of getting all like super caught up on like the details and whatnot. And we're going to kind of just. So just like a couple of lines, you know, like a little dupe and a little dupe. Something simple to suggest that the nose is there, but not so big that I think it'll sort of make her look kind of weird. Like, I'm not a big fan of how Tom draws noses. There's just something kind of pig-like about it that I've just never particularly cared for. Kind of lumpy looking, you know, especially for his otherwise pretty simple style. Also, while we're talking about this now, I want to sort of address one of the big elephants in the room that I kind of have with a lot of Tom's expressions. They always look kind of weird. Like, I always felt like I get what I think he's going for, but they always feel kind of off. Marinette's face here, I think it's supposed to be a bit of an awkward smile. She's like, hee, like a bit of an awkward kind of smile. But instead it looks like that she just, like, said something really nasty and she's waiting for your reaction, or she looks like she wants to die. If the idea is that we're kind of meant to make her look happy and, like, cute, then let's play into that, you know? Let's, you know, give her a little, like, smirk. One side's a little bigger, one side's a little smaller. To me, it looks like she murdered. It does! Like, it looks like that she's kind of psychotic. Admittedly, the head's a bit large and the neck's a little long, so let's carry that down. Carry that down a little bit, make the head a little smaller, pull it down. Okay.
Just got Min vibes, or arms. Oh!
Her eyes look overly... yeah, it looks like that she's, like, exhausted. Like, well, not exhausted, but it just looks like that she's... It looks like that, like, she's gonna snap at any minute, rather than looking cute and fun and adventurous. You know, like how Marinette should probably look. A little awkward, you know, she's a little socially awkward, a little bit bumbling, but, like, you know, overall, she's like this good-natured person. So she always wears, like, this sweet little, like, smile. Here, I'll draw, like, an extra line, because, like, it'll, at the very least... you know... Now, the way I draw eyes is largely stylistic. It's a bit of a mileage may vary. I've had some people complain about the way I draw eyes because they look a little too Sonic-y. That's fair. That's perfectly fine.
I haven't done this yet. Ahem. It's a Chep. Hi, T-Chep.
Welcome back. Actually, depending on if you even left, because I know you were in earlier, but I don't know if you left or not. Ah! The body's also a bit too long, I think, so let's, just a smidgen. I think I may have made the body a little too long, so let's drag it down a little. Let's make these legs here a little shorter, because if I'm looking at them, yeah, they're too long. So let's rein this in a little bit. Yeah, that looks better. That looks way better. Although,
just looking for a bit.
yes, and T-Chep is in fact a cutie. I do actually kind of like one thing. He gave her slightly puffier hair, which I think works with his style quite nicely. I think if he had gone for the sort of more realistically kind of figured out hair here, I don't think it would have worked as well. So at the very least, he does understand, you know where to extend. That's the thing about that pisses a lot Andrew Dobson off. Like, that pisses a lot of people off about Andrew Dobson, is that he is in a very kind of Butch Hartman kind of way. It's very clear that he knows better than how he tends to draw. But whereas the case of good old Butchie Boy, it's because of, like, you know, it's because it's like low effort, whatever. With Dobbs, it feels like he can't be convinced he can improve. like he knocks off criticism, and if anything, and it feels like he's stagnated after a certain point.
That sound you heard was an Uno reverse card being played. The way I drew eyes was really weird, but now it's, I don't know, how would you just... I like the way you draw eyes. They're very large, they're very expressive. Miraculous Ladybug with MGR, Renegade Rising OST. I know I can't keep referencing MGR and I won't stop. Good.
What are some prominent humans in the Bad Vibe universe? Aside from Arthur right now, I'm still figuring out the deets on that. But they will exist, don't worry. There will be human.
No one, they're all extinct. Oh, whoops. I draw eyes kind of weird, too. The way I drew eyes... Oh, okay, I already read that.
Again, I do like some of the actually flourishes he makes to Marinette's outfit. Like, I like how the pants are folded up instead of having like these weird patches. I like the more flared out collar and things like that. I actually quite like those changes that he made. I think they look quite nice. Yeah, that's the thing about Tom. He's not a terrible artist. It's just, I feel, it's very clear that, like, he could be a lot better. And whether it be arrogance or ignorance, or dare I even say willful ignorance, he hasn't really improved much in the past few years. And I mean, like, past few years, like, over a decade. And it makes a lot of people mad, and I can't blame them.
Hold on, I have a picture I'm sure you'll have a great time critiquing.
Okay, very well. If you do want to, again, put them in the art critique. I still feel like the neck's a little long. Put it in the art critique channel of the Discord, and I can't wait to look forward to it. Or I can't wait to. I look forward to critiquing it. Eh. What's actually funny, though, again, talking about... I brought this up earlier. Tom Preston's actually an artist who I actually looked up to quite a bit when I was in school. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I was just an edgy teenager or something about, like his Sawyer cartoonist, which I like to call Strawman, the webcomics.
Squidward Gaming. Ha 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 ha.
Or as I like to call it, Strawman, the comic series. Is it's very not good. It's not great. It's just Andrew basically getting into arguments and shooting down straw man arguments that he's had to deal with in his career as an artist or whatever, or in his political opinions. He did eventually try and reboot it and actually have it focus on some characters, and that's pretty cool. I like that idea. It didn't follow through. Just every now and again it would cut back to them. But then it was still very much about Tom, and I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of that, of the fact that he decided to go against that change, because I like that change a lot. I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a good move, a more meta narrative kind of self kind of telling story. You know, I think that that's an interesting idea, but like he didn't really go through with it. Not that I'm saying that you can't do comics the way that Andrew does it, where it's about, oh, it's the artist writing stories about themselves. I think that's perfectly fine. Hell, I've done that.
but Tom's comics aren't great. It's alright, Dresser, don't worry about it. What's the comic like? The comic, like I said, can basically be described as Strawman the webcomic. Where basically Tom just is constantly being bothered by these. He literally has a character whose name like Persistent Pam, who I'm pretty sure is based on like real customers or quote unquote fans he's had to deal with before, who are very picky about his work. But a lot of the time it feels more like it's just him being bitter that people critique his work. And that's a very common thing. A lot of the time people who critique his work or like things that he doesn't like, please note he takes a very heavy stance against anime, which is so funny to me because so much of his old art was inspired by it. Like he does not like anime art. He's one of those. I made this part of the arm way too long and it looks super weird. So let's bring that back and add a little bit of extra forearm. Could still use another kind of notch down, but now I'm worried that the arm's gonna get too long. Ugh. Who doesn't like anime? Well, a lot of people, usually art teachers, for some reason. Yes, I know about Sonichu. No, it's not as bad as Sonichu. No, it's not as ridiculous as Sonichu. No, Tom Preston is not as ridiculous as CWC. I'd rather not discuss CWC, because that is a whole can of worms I am not prepared to open up. Sorry, dropped my pan. Hi, Bread Bun. Moving on. Hello, Bread Bun. Why do you all have a random can of worms? Yeet. Hope we're all doing well. We're doing pretty good. Okay, so... And here's kind of my take on Marinette. Well, actually, I'm going to move that like arm a little bit because it looks a little bit like she's like kind of putting her hand on her hip or something. It's more meant to be like it's behind her because she's just a little bashful. So let's just bring that in a little bit. So here's my take on Tom's take on a Marinette. Obviously, stylistic things aside, because I don't want Tom to just do my style. That's lame. But as you can see, here I captured some of that same energy while not just flat out copying the pose. There's still, like, obviously the different angles and whatnot indicate a little bit more life than the very, very stiff, like, very flat pose he's going for. There's at least a little bit of dimension here, but like it's very clear that like there isn't a lot of like life being put into the actual pose. It's very simple. It's very dare I even say it? It's very DeviantArt. What are the odds of him finding the stream and responding to it? Hey, if he wants to talk to me about his art, he is more than welcome. It would be a first, honestly. I don't think he... I think as with all the other artists we've talked about here, I'm pretty sure I am beneath his notice. So yeah, as you can see, it's very stiff. It's not particularly lively, which is a very common problem with a lot of Tom's art. A lot of his art is very stiff. There isn't a lot of like life to it. I wanted to find this one specific piece that he did of Woody and from Toy Story, and it's a very stiff piece. Looking back at it, the pose does not have a lot of life at all. But anyway, that's kind of the way I would have done the Marinette pose. Again, not looking to change the style. Honestly, I probably could have tried to emulate Tom's style a little bit, but whatever. Overall, it was more about the energy of the pose, and I just kind of got carried away. Anyway, there's Marinette. Okay, now we're going to go back to doing community critiques. Oh, actually, we've got a few in. Yay! Okay, awesome. I'd like to learn about line art and anime clothing with this one. Okay, that's going to take a bit of time, so let's kind of go back to that. Bunui. Let's do the Bunui here that our good friend D did. Bunui. First of all, I love this design. All the major elements of the character are all emphasized as appropriately as they need to be. Big ears, big old peats, big old fluffy tail. All of that stuff is perfectly emphasized. That looks great. This is a really strong design overall, I would say. I wouldn't change much about it. My main thing that I would recommend is sort of a thing we've talked about before, is I would suggest adding a little bit more yeah, the pose is stiff. The pose is quite stiff. Is adding in a little bit more exaggeration into the pose itself. The kind of difficult thing with this is that you're drawing a character who's like tired, they're stretching, they're like, right? At least I assume that's what's going on. It kind of looks like that they are. So what I would do is maybe have them kind of, if you'll allow, it's kind of, he is, okay. First of all, maybe have the head kind of tilting a little bit, so he's stretching out his neck, right? Because he'd be stretching out like his whole body. If you look at like a character who's like waking up, like the first thing I always think of is I think of the intro to Ren and Stimpy, because there's this clip of I think it was actually the first episode they made, but I don't know if it was the first episode they aired. And Ren kind of does like this big stretch, and his whole body kind of exaggerates. Yeah, I know that that's based on the work of a horrible person, but like, you know, it's still good. It's still good animation.
Squidward gaming. Ha 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 ha.
Stretchy Bun, don't take that out of context. Kaze, get the newspaper. You know exactly what you're doing. So immediately, you are showing a kind of awareness of the issue with the piece, which is commendable. That's very commendable, D. A lot of people don't kind of recognize that. I immediately took it out of context too. Ack. Got these short little legs, but he's kind of stretching them out. The difficult thing will be keeping the thickness of the legs while still while having it look like he's kind of stretching them out. Admittedly, I might have to do a bit of warping here, and I apologize for that, but the lesson's more about less about staying on model. It's more about knowing when and where to exaggerate. I'm part fox, what can I say? Okay, that's offensive. Yeah, what the hell? I don't even... What do you mean don't even? You're the one throwing a stereotype around. What's going on in my chat? Don't worry about it. We're just making Trumpety jokes, because that's how it be, yo. Oh. Just gonna shift this up and kind of make it more like it's kind of a little bit headed towards the audience. Maybe let's see if we can get that to work. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go back. Perspective hard. Dual wielding now because y'all are getting a bit out of line. I don't know. I feel like it was worse a couple days ago. Never forget! Visible concern. You're drawing brush. Oh, thank you. I'm working to prevent another incident. What the hell that was, because that was actually cursed. It was! Oh my god! You want to know what it was? We haven't had like a super cursed stream. We hadn't had like a super cursed stream on my stream in like a very long time. So I guess the universe felt like it needed to have a little bit of extra cursed energy. Never forget. Also 8-Big. His name is Brace. Perspective go burr. Never feet get milk steak. And so the foot conversations begin. What is it with you all and feet? Like, I legitimately don't understand. Yo! Feet are lame, to be honest. He has Tails hair. I'm not gonna lie and say this hair wasn't inspired, but hey, yo, that's fine, man. Cause I'm from Texas. I'm only allowed to say y'all without getting yelled at. I mean, we've been saying y'all since the beginning of these streams, my dude. And I don't think I've gotten yelled at yet. I don't know, has anyone yelled at me for saying y'all yet? Pause, though. Oh, God. Are we actually doing this now? Oh, Jesus. Honestly, I don't like that arm. I'm gonna fix it. Let me just, I'm gonna draw a new one with blackjack and hookers. Actually have it, you know, be in perspective.
I think. So let's, I could probably push it up a little bit more.
Feet are the scapegoat that starts to charge from weirder topics. Are you sure? It kind of just leads into the weirder topics anyway, dude. If anything, it's the gateway. It is the starter drug. It is the gateway drug. Harry came back to chat at a bad time. Corgi just nopes the hell out. She's like, nope, I'm good. God's light. Bryce's tail is actually quite big. Yes, it is big and poofy, but I'm perfectly okay with that because that's a stylistic choice that helps define his... He has a very clean silhouette. He has a very distinguishable silhouette, I would say. So that's really not a problem. Yeah, I don't like that arm either. I tried to make it in perspective. minutes, I'm finding something wrong. But I mean, hey, it's the learning process. Anything ooh say. This is an owl forbidden, so you may only ooh. Fox, Lyoko, start naming me if I refer with scissors. No, Lyoko, that's rude. That's also probably someone's fetish. Okay, so, why did I have to, what's the news Vodik still dive into? That's just adding fuel to the flame here. Why would you say it? Why did you have to? What's the news Vodik? It is totally someone's fetish. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay, so D. Here's kind of my notes on your piece. So overall, it's still pretty cute. I like it a lot. It's very, very cute. The design is great. I think you have a real knack for designing characters. Great, simple characters with very like large elements that you're supposed to pay attention to. The paws, the ears. Those are meant to be two big things that your eyes are drawn to them. And it creates an easily readable character. What I think you could really use. I did bring up things like the arm anatomy, but putting that aside, the main thing is I think maybe like I don't know if you like use like the line of action like I do, but using like a line of action, though admittedly I did have to go back and fix mine, alter mine a lot. I'm still looking at ways I could make this better, like if I was to pull the head back a little bit, things like that. Anyway, point is, character design is my passion, legit. Well, it looks very nice. Anyway, and exaggerating the pose, I think will go a long way. Again, I'm looking at this, and there's definitely a lot that I could have fixed on my own. This could use, like, a large element. And this could have, like, used another pass. But, like, you get the idea. I hope that you don't even know style. Oh, God. I do hope that, this kind of... Style, please think of the children. I do hope that this makes my intentions clear. With that said, let's find out. D, did you have any questions? What children? Okay, well, I'm waiting for D to respond.
Squidward
Gamer.
Ha 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 ha.
I'm gonna find some daub art. Okay, it's actually so hard. I'm trying to actually find, like, art that he's done, and it's mostly memes. It's mostly memes dunking on his art. Like, damn. I think I'm good. You explained everything succinctly. Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'm just gonna save this then. I'm gonna call this, D... No, that's Dree. D... feedback. File. Save as... a pung. -13. Oh god, they're all doing it again. Yeah, I don't know why it said. I don't know why I typed in Dree. Sorry. 8-bit. God damn it! Jesus. Okay. So I'm gonna take a minute to try and find some Daub art. In that time, just as a gentle reminder, I do in fact accept tips, which are an awesome way to help support the stream. You already know how, and especially since I am no longer buying food in a group, I'm gonna need a little bit of extra cashola to kind of throw around, so donations and whatnot, very, very helpful right now. So thank you very much. I'm actually pretty low on my savings right now. Thank you very much for the $15 and the great milk steak. Want to become famous? Give Fox all your mortal possessions to get a shout out. No, you figured it out! Damn it! Jesus, again, it's all memes! This is actually super hard. It's like, it's all memes. It's all memes. Am I gonna have to look through the goddamn Twitter post? I mean Tumblr. I said Twitter. I meant to say Tumblr. Also, yeah, I guess he's still around. Because I think he said some stuff recently about like people sexualizing like lesbian characters, when it's often been said of his work that that's exactly what he does. Oh god. I'm sorry, he drew a piece of Captain Planet fan art, and I don't want to show it because he's covered in mud, but it looks like something else, and this is actually like super hard. Tax me to pain. Ah! Not even taxes are safe. The concept of taxes. Oh yeah, I remember now. He also tried to like create his own version of like the 4chan waifu character. There was one piece of art that I really wanted to share, but it was like it's like really tasteless. Like, let me put it to you this way. It involves a character. I don't know if it's meant to represent him or another person. I don't know. But cutting off George Lucas's head. So yeah, not putting that on screen. But it keeps showing up! It's one of the only pieces of art that he's actually done. Okay, you know what? This is actually a good one. This is a good one for us to take a look at. So let's close this. Let's go to new. I should really prepare these ahead of time. I was going to, but it escaped my mind. So this is, like I said, eventually what ended up happening with So You're a Cartoonist was that for a bit, he tried to make it about, like, actual characters vaguely based on his life experiences. And, I think I don't know if this is, like, an actual, like, cover he drew just for the book, like for a published version, or for just the webcomic itself, but whatever. And, like, again, on a surface level glance, it's not too bad. In fact, I would say, in general, it's not awful. We found Jim Katsu playing the Pee Pee Pooper Man the entire time. Oh, was the Pee Pee Pooper Man. Not even taxes are safe. Just avoid them like Yoshi. Who are we talking about? Lyoko, we're talking about Andrew Dobson or Tom Preston. So, but here's the thing. I think we could make this more dynamic. I think we could have them, like, pressed right up against each other. Like, okay, best thing I could think of is, the shot Squidward and Barnacle Boy Big Nose. So you guys know the thing I'm looking at. Well, I'm not saying we need to make it one-to-one the same as this. I think going for something like this I think might help to make this piece look a little bit more interesting, because it just feels like it's missing something. I think a lot of it's like Curmudgeonly Carl. That's his character's name, Curmudgeonly Carl. He looks fine, actually. Curmudgeonly Carl's expression here is mostly fine, but I think what's this character's name? Anyway, I don't remember. His totally not him as a teenager. It's just kind of like, it just doesn't, also, I just don't feel like that the expression works out here. For him, I don't know, something about the little one eye open gives me, like, I'm not adding the Squidward nose, but, now it's art, but, like, I feel like it fits his character a little bit better, because, I don't know, something about the one eye open expression kind of gives me, crotchety old man, I don't know. But, him, not so much. So let's kind of keep this in mind and use this as a reference point. I think if we were to make these characters, instead of having, like, the anime thing, which, again, it's so funny because he hates anime, we could make this potentially more dynamic. Again, we're just doing a sketch here, and admittedly, if I get some things crapped up, that's perfectly fine. Oh, well, at least I tried. Alright. Angle May. Critique its weird voice. Now you brought the song. Okay. Well, for starters, neither of these guys have Squidward noses. No, okay, for real though. What may help with this would be emulating this wonderful scene that I was in where I stood up to that big-nosed barnacle boy who was trying to put down the common worker. For real, Squidward was just defending himself, I'm just saying. Anyway, we truly are gaming in the Squidward. I mean, technically speaking, we're doing art in the Squidward years. We're doing art in the Squidward years. So let's see if we can put them kind of up against each other and see how we can go from there. They don't necessarily have to exactly be right up against each other, but close enough. My Squidward voice sounds nothing like Squidward. It sounds like my Vernon voice. Remember when I was like, April, Vernon. It just sounds like my Vernon voice. Anyway, so I want to try and keep the overall, like, proportions of the characters about the same, although I can't help but feel like that he doesn't quite look like a teenager, or like a preteen, however old he's supposed to be. I don't know. That might just be me, though. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Squidward could totally pull doing Bob Ross. Oh my god, I'd watch it if Roger Bumpus, I think his name is like Bumpus or Bumpkiss or something like that. He has like a really weird last name. Anyway, if Roger Bumpus did some like Squidward like art streams, I would watch those. That would be a ton of fun. Oh, hi Mark. In all honesty, Squidward would probably be a great artist if he made more than self-portraits. Well, Squidward makes what he finds to be aesthetically and artistically pleasing, and in the end, isn't that what all art should be? Self-satisfaction and expression? He expresses himself. Now, his expressions are vain. His expressions of art, they're all about himself. It's an expression of vanity, but it is still an expression of his emotional state. It says something about him that he spends so much time painting himself or things that look like himself, as opposed to like some other art that you can see out there where it doesn't really say much, you know? And on top of that, Squidward's art doesn't hurt anyone either. That's a big thing. It doesn't hurt anyone. Vibes. Vibes with Squidward. You know, we could still do the eye thing. We could totally still do this to create kind of a centerpiece, like there, like, and then you look. Okay, yeah, no, we could still totally do this. Because I don't hate that idea. It's more just I thought maybe if we like I didn't think we would need it, or that maybe we'd be able to fit in with this new idea. But no, we could totally still do that. Okay. Weird Plush, you're a cutie. Vibes harder. Implying Bold and Brash is not a timeless classic. Shake my head. Yeah, Bold and Brash is a timeless classic. But yeah, I'm gonna just say it. Squidward is a great artist. He's just not appreciated in his time. Because, well, why would he be? He mostly draws self-portraits. While it does indeed say something, it doesn't really say anything meaningful to the average person. It only really says anything meaningful to himself or potentially people who are close to him. that tells me, even though while he loves having attention, he's mostly creating for its own sake. Actually, having both kind of does get in the way, so let's actually get rid of the sort of anime-y thing. I think just having a big ol' F with the kind of art in the background, I think that actually does a lot. So just kind of an F, and then, I don't know, the actual art that he drew doesn't really matter, so I'm just gonna... Okay. Selfish question. Is Julie submitted a piece with a critique? No! Please feel free. Go right ahead. Squidward's a great artist. He needs to be more humble. Early stage Squidward could be a lot more successful than modern Squidward. Yeah. Press F to share. The video is buffering on you. Yikes. Sorry. Is it buffering for anyone else? I don't know why I'm asking that, because no one will be able to answer me if it is. Anyway, I'm gonna give folks a minute to see if anyone else is having that issue. Okay, so we're getting nope, so I'm assuming that everything's good to go. Excellent. Alright, so, and then what I would probably do is make more space and then have, like, the title. So let's just, change camera size. So... And then, like, say something like, pee pee poo poo man. And then Learning Curve, which is admittedly a kind of clever title, but we're just going to put ah as the underline with some little quotes there. And that's how I would have probably would have framed this. I think it's a little bit more dynamic and interesting. The thing is with Tom's art is that a lot of it doesn't feel like terrible. Glasses, particularly on key characters, are peak character design. Yee. I just buffering because of my own internet. Yikes. Anyway, in general, his art, like, it's not usually too bad, but it has this issue where I feel like it could use another draft. Or two. Like, where I feel like he probably could have done another sketch passes before doing the line art and whatnot. If you want, I will say, as per normal, I'm not necessarily going to get to everyone's art tonight. But... Actually, you know what's funny? I didn't really even end up using the Squidward and Barnacle Boy thing as reference at all. Oh, well, dub... Preston,
Like, I didn't end up using this as a point of reference at all, so I kind of got it for nothing. Oh well, let's actually change the canvas size here so it can be a little bit more appreciable to each other. Let's bring the sketch down. Okay. File, save. File, save as. See, I was thinking I would be able to get through everyone's tonight, but because of the fact that like everyone is so like everyone's now like sort of shooting in their things, I may not necessarily be able to get to everyone. I boo-boo the full. Oh, hi, buttons. Okay, so this was interesting. Denshaku Lawrence actually submitted one of their sketches, wanting to learn about line art, anatomy, and clothing. Okay, so looking at this piece, first thing I want to comment on is here's the thing. This is very clearly something you did with like a pencil brush. Whatever technique you're using for that, you could probably use for line work as well. If you'll allow, I'm just gonna real quickly sort of go over this with lines and just kind of show you what I mean, at least a little bit. So as you can see, just fast and quick, like so. It already looks pretty clean, but just fast and quick. Admittedly, I'm not doing a very good job of showing what I mean. There you go. Sometimes you do have to cut corners a little bit. Just fast and to the point. You might have to end up redoing a couple of times, but doing your line work like this will ensure that it ends up looking more clean. Admittedly, you don't have to erase every single time. I tend to do that because I'm OCD. But,
Character glasses with Giratina and Ninetales. Yee.
Okay, bye, Weird Plush. It was good to see you. So I'm just going to be lining a bit of it. Probably just the head, just because,
I erase everything. I erase everything again for the sharp appearance.
yeah, like obviously you do erase every single like little like thing that you can find. Sometimes I miss some, but you do erase them, but you don't have to necessarily do it as you draw every line because that can slow you down. But it is generally a good idea to erase the little tails that you get, like here, unless that kind of weird, rough, kind of sketchy look is what you're going for. Obviously, that's the important thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this over. Actually, I missed some extra details. Hang on. Oopsie poopsie. And we're going to duplicate it. Oh, actually, again, I missed more. Damn it! Okay, we good? Did I miss anything else? Okay, sweet. So now we're going to... No, I did, actually. Ah! Now we're going to duplicate this layer.
One line on the ear. Yes, I saw. Binary brushes also help with making sure I don't overshoot. Yes. First of all, one of the line art tips I can give you: stabilization. My dude, stabilization, very helpful. I have it turned up. Actually, Abyss and I got into an argument about this on stream once. How much stabilization you want can actually affect the speed of your art, or however. I prefer to have my stabilization really high because I think it helps make the line art look a lot smoother. Though admittedly it can affect my ability to like draw like just real quick, really down. But if you can see, I'm not having at least I don't feel like I'm having a problem with it, but your mileage may vary, but still, stabilization, use it, very helpful. Yeah, I also have my stabilization at max. Thank you. Anyway, so from here, now that you've got the line work all done, now you just need to tidy it up, as I'm going to show you here. Don't be, like, when you start and you're doing the line work, don't be afraid to have, like, the little tails and whatnot that kind of lead off and don't look all that aesthetically pleasing. And if you have, like, little gaps and whatnot, don't be afraid to go back and fill them in. The important thing is to look over your art and kind of like and make any corrections that you'll see. It's like any other layer. You go back and you fix any errors that you may have made. You're basically doing yet another pass, but this time you're using a you're just editing the existing rather than and this may sometimes mean that you'll have to go back and redo some lines, but that's how it be, yo. Also, if you're in Clip Studio Paint, vector tools. Always make your line work vector. I promise you, you'll be able to do stuff like this and rework and edit and manipulate your line work as you see fit. I do feel like that it does look a little weird, so I'm gonna actually add a little bit. I'm actually gonna add a little bit of a tail and a little line there to help make it look a little bit fluffier. And start this closer to the bottom. Get rid of this a little bit here. Consistency is key. Yes. Vector layers are goated. That was a pun. It was indeed. Okay, so that's how I would go about doing line art. Basically, hold on, line work. Use fast strokes. Strokels. Use fast strokels! And that's really all there is to it. I will put one more tip. Use vector layer if possible, because very helpful. Both Clip Studio Paint and Paint Tool Sai have that as a feature. It's very useful. I think Photoshop does as well, actually. This isn't a swimming class, is it not? What did you think of my amazing swimming? Please excuse me, I'm having a chew. Hey, Voltage! Resubscribing for 2 months in a row. Merp, merp. Thank you very much, Voltage. Hello. Hello there. As for the next thing you want to, oh, you know what? Actually, I did miss something else. If I can go back to the I missed that line under their head, like under their eye rather. There we go. Yay. Okay. Kaze, you're a cutie. But yeah, thank you, Voltage, for resubscribing. She's permanently tired for shit. That's a freaking mood. Okay, now the next thing you wanted, kind of advice on was anatomy, but to just kind of summarize line work, basically, yeah, use fast strokes, just fast strokes, and then clean up whatever, like, you remove excess, fill up wonkier line, like, fix up wonkier lines, just do whatever you need to do, and that should help create a nice kind of, very, I guess, graphic style. Although, I should mention, Moo kind of got shot down again. Oh, I'm sorry, Kaze. Bleh. But, beyond that, keep in mind, line work has different kind of rules depending on what you're going for. Too bad I can't afford a tablet or art program. I'm stuck with Autodesk Sketchbook on my phone or laptop, but it works well enough. Hey, it's something, right? Next up, what you wanted were lessons on anatomy. Honestly, looking at your art, I think you're mostly headed in the right direction. There isn't really too much I think I need to advise you on. I think you've mostly got it. There's one or two sections, and I am going to notice one thing. The ear looks a little flat. So what I would do is I just draw the head. Defocus, come on, follow your advice. Anyway, obviously, it does very much look like you figured out like the net of the face and that sort of thing. It actually is probably more like this. Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. Anyway, like the net of the face, that sort of thing. It looks like you already did all of that. The ear, however, and the horn look quite flat. So what I would suggest doing is drawing where you think they would appear on the head, like say the ears here. Then drawing the flat shape like you did. Like just like a super simple like flat shape like you did, and then drawing this kind of like net inside of it. You could call it a net, and from there you could figure out where you want the inside of the ear to be, where you want the outside of the ear to be. This one actually looks like it's facing quite down, so what it should be doing is probably something kind of like this, where it's kind of like, if you look now, this is where the inside of the ear is. And it has a bit more depth to it. The same thing with a horn. Since she's looking up, the horn would probably, in relation to the ear, probably be somewhere around here. And then we would draw where the horn would start. We would draw the base shape of that. And we could draw in the little net. And as necessary, make corrections to help make it look a little bit more natural. And we could do for the other one too. Though I don't know if it would actually show up at this angle. But let's give it a shot anyway. It would, actually, now that I'm looking at it. It probably would. Just barely, but it would, in fact, be there, I would think. Actually, no, now that I'm looking at it, no, I don't think it would. Because it would probably be more like, if she's looking up, it'd probably be more like... Yeah, I don't think it would show up. But anyway, you get the idea. Network for snouted characters is... Horns are hard. Horns are very difficult. And, yeah, network for snouted characters is no joke. Let me just... kind of draw. This is where the circle started, and then that's where and then the character should usually have like a little bit of extra detail, like the circles or whatever, but you don't have to. So for that's sort of my main suggestion for anatomy. Beyond that, it looks like you've got a generally good hold on it outside of like your style. I will say the shoulders look a little broad, and it kind of looks like she's kind of hunching up her shoulders, which she doesn't need to. I think she'd probably be a bit more relaxed, or like maybe, I mean, she's probably like tense, but I have a feeling her shoulders wouldn't be quite that hunched up, but that's more a pose thing. Horns are one of my favorite. Yes, horns are cool. But yeah, basically, small details, always make sure that you do exactly what you do with everything else. Make sure all details, including small, have to have that kind of dimensionality to it. Otherwise, it looks kind of weird. So let me, Actually, what I might do is I might do like another one and kind of show how I think you went about doing it. Please, if I am wrong about this, please forgive me. But this is kind of how it how it looks. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. Where you just kind of like put it on there like so, and then you just kind of put the horn on there. That's kind of how it looks like it came out, and that gives it a little bit of a two-dimensional look, when the rest of this character is relatively three-dimensional looking. So there you go. So anatomy. Even small details need dimension. Before. After. Okay.
Squidward gaming.
Sometimes I wish I could just 3D model my cat. I'm sure you could. Just like 2D traditional art, 3D modeling is something that you can learn. So there you go. And lastly, you wanted to learn about clothing folds. Okay. So clothing folds are notoriously hard for artists. I don't really have any solid advice to give you when it pertains to how I think you should go about it. Because it's kind of different for each style. I will say, just overall, maybe simplifying it wouldn't hurt. Because as it reads right now, while the folds you've got are actually relatively well done, I think that that's about where everything would fall. It all makes sense. So you've got a good grasp on... You've got a good grasp on that. I do think, given your... I don't want to say... like your style's not super cartoonish, but I do think that with the way you drew the hair very simply, like, it's very much just like a shape. You drew the horns without a lot of extra detail, things like that. The extra added detail to her shirt does look a little odd, because it draws attention away from the rest of her body. It draws attention away to the shirt, because there's a lot of lines going on. Now, you're not doing this as critically as I did in high school, where I added in so many extra lines. But mine were all like just pointless little bits. Yours actually do make sense, so you've got a good sense for that. But I do think simplification would probably go a long way. Like if I'm just to copy this over, let me just I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. Dr. Josh Fox caught tracing. I'm sorry. I can't believe I was actually Butch Hartman the whole time. Imagine you could just send layers as files. I don't think that's something you can do. Now, if we're to kind of take this same thing, layer, duplicate... As you can see, there is a lot going on. However, if we were to, like, say, simplify it a little bit, maybe don't have this kind of extra little bit here, maybe the extra booba isn't necessary. I don't know why I said that, I apologize. All the extra arm folds aren't as necessary. Just more subtle kind of line work, kind of like say for here, and you just add in one line here,
We don't have to have this. I think that the fact that it's baggy is communicated well enough from this. I would also maybe say don't be afraid to make it like a little bit more uneven. Like having it like a little bit kind of like lumpy here, and then it sort of presses down. But that might also depend on what you're going for. Admittedly, again, clothing folds are not my specialty. Maybe having a more like subtle line to indicate like where the breasts are rather than like the full thing, you know, like a dupe or something. This part is kind of unnecessary, if at least depending on what I think you're going for with your line work. A little bit of baggage, and I think that's really about it. Is just simplify, my dude. That's all. That's all you really need to do. Just simplify. Know where the details are necessary, and apply those folding details where they would most make sense. Is probably a good way to put it. Still, it's not a bad like piece you've got here. It looks pretty good, I would say, overall. That is the wrong thing. Let's actually keep this line going. Just a little line here. There you go. So yeah, it actually doesn't look too bad overall. You did a good job, I would say. Let's add in little captions, as we've been doing with all of these. Folds. Too many lines can be distracting or can muddy up the piece. Less is more. Simplify as needed. Okay, so that was sort of the 3 things you wanted me to cover, Denshaku. Did you have any questions? Not really? Okay, excellent. I hope this was informative. If it wasn't, I apologize. I will say the piece that you sent me is quite good. There wasn't really much I had to correct or change or fix. It looks quite good. I think that your piece looks quite nice. I actually really like going back to the sketch itself. I think that when it actually comes to the way that you sketched it out, I think doing kind of a similar thing where there's like, I think you've got like a good sense of weight to it. There's a good sense of weight to your lines and whatnot. So apply that to your line work. And I think it'll look quite good. So yeah. Excellent. Okay. Thank you for sending that in. That was super cool. All right, now let's look for another piece of Tom. We've been running for 2 hours and 13 minutes. I don't know how much longer we're gonna run, but I would at least like to get some more kind of pieces in. So many of these are just memes. Maybe I didn't pick the best artist to
here's actually a good one. This piece is a piece of, based on Captain Planet the Game Master. Now, for reasons I don't entirely understand, rehydrate to slam. Thank you, Voltage, for reminding me about water. Anyway, now, first of all, he drew this fan art largely because he seems to have like this preference to how a lot of these Nintendo franchises were more illustrated, draws the lifeblood of the soul. A painting of the soul. Seems to be he seems to have preferred how a lot of these franchises connected to Nintendo were more depicted in the late 80s and early 90s. Why he prefers big chin, full of himself, Simon Belmont, tiny green, dead throat Mega Man, and pink hair Link. That was the thing he really got into, was pink hair Link. Brown and pink hair Link. He hates like Ocarina of Time and all this because he's like super anime now or something. I don't know why, but that was something he was into, and you know what? Fine. That's awesome. Good for him. But like he got like into long ass arguments about it. Anyway, the character I want to focus on is Kevin here, because Kevin's pose is weird. It's very stiff, and I don't really understand what he's doing with his hand. Also, that gun is extremely flat. Which, to be fair, guns are hard, yo. Drawing guns are very hard. Yeah, I'm gonna find a reference for an NES Zapper. Oh, also, I guess he doesn't like Batman or the Joker. I don't freaking know. I don't know. Ah, yes, Captain N, the Game Master. This'll do. Someone made a real handgun that looks like an NES Zapper. That's hilarious. Okay, that show was bad. I mean, it's kind of like fun bad, but oh, it is bad. Okay, so my main issue is I'm pretty sure, unless that's what the Zapper looks like in Captain N, which it very well might be, I don't know. I don't think he actually referenced the NES or the Nintendo controller, actually. That doesn't look right either. Also, how could he forget the greatest Captain N character, Mother Brain? And I will be the ruler of Video Land. Jesus. Anyway, let's try and sketch this out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of put this down, and I'm gonna start with a draw over of Dobson the House Elves, Kevin here, and I'm gonna kind of go over my main issues with it, because it's easier to kind of communicate to you guys if you have a good idea of at least the basic shapes. Because at first glance, it doesn't look too bad, right? It looks pretty okay. Hell, he even got the exaggerated proportions that Kevin had in the show, where he was like broad chest, small waist. He wasn't like buff, but that was just how he was proportioned, because that's just how the show was. Largely because of his jacket, I would assume. So that's all well and good. I'd say the Captain N anatomy is actually perfectly fine. I might actually pick up I might actually look for some references for Kevin from Captain N. His name was Kevin, right? Like Kev N. Get it? Nyuk nyuk. I actually don't know. It's been a while. I'm looking at old screenshots of it, and oh, it does appear the Zapper in the show has inverted. That is odd. Why does it have inverted colors? Okay, fine, Dobby, fair enough. That seems odd to me, but, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still not a good drawing of Zapper. I mean, why does it look so flat? But, what an awkward pose he's doing with his arm. That's so strange. Like, to be fair to Dobson, to Andrew Dobson, hands are hard, and he's always kind of had a history of having difficulty with arms. I empathize completely. Arms are hard. They make me cry. I mean, hands are hard. Even saying hands are hard is a pain in the ass. They make me cry. But, yeah.
Well, actually, let's also maybe draw in like the hand, but I'm very confused. Oh, that's interesting. You got the hand anatomy wrong, where it's like, instead of like being like an arc, it's like just kind of descending with finger length. Maybe that's also kind of looks like he's just completely folding over her arm. I don't know. Looks kind of weird, man. Looks kind of sus. Okay. So here's the kind of anatomy that I've got going on here. It's mostly fine. I mean, it was kind of hard to tell what the legs are supposed to be like doing. I'm pretty sure I messed up on the legs, but whatever. I'm just gonna... The legs do look a little bit too thick. Anyway, whatever. So, first thing you're probably gonna notice is that this is a very...
Squidward Gaming. Ha 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 ha.
Detention. Anyway, this is a very stiff pose. If the idea is supposed to be that they're being, like, attacked by King Hippo and Eggplant Wizard here, wouldn't a character, especially a character like Kevin, who's very like, ha, I'm so cool, wouldn't he be more, like, pointing out his gun and looking like a badass and kind of smirking and being more ready on the attack? Or if he's going to be, like, surprised, have him more, like, bent over, or one of his legs more, like, splayed out or something. I don't know. This is just a very stiff pose that I'm honestly just not crazy about. Also, the hands... don't look great. As I already said, with this one, it very much looks like, if I can make this picture full again, the reason why I kind of crapped on the hands is because he crapped out on the hands. It's a very strange looking like hand where it's like the pinky's like the longest finger, unless the hand's around, which it's still wrong, because then like why would the pointer finger be the longest? It's very, very strange. It was a very strange looking hand. And this one, he clearly didn't actually like draw out the hands proper. He clearly just sort of very vaguely blocked them out and then just kind of put them in, resulting in a very weird looking set of hands. So with that said, using this anatomy as a baseline, and as well as just using, let's actually look for like Captain and Kevin. Oh my god, his full name was Kevin Keane. That's fantastic. That is so good. His name is Kevin Keane. Oh yeah, it was. Okay, that's not really Dobson's fault. He drew it like they did in the cartoon. Okay, fair enough. That is an incredibly blurry picture. I want to get like a full body image of him that isn't just like cruddy like promotional material. I don't think I'm getting it. Let's Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this because it gives us an idea of how he's built, and I'm gonna get like a picture of his like face, because the main thing here is that they kind of mucked up his face. Let's there's Oh, that's actually so funny. That the Dobson piece came up when I was looking up Captain Ed. That's so cool. That's so funny. Also, I guess there was Mirror Kevin, who looks like a freak. I don't know. Yeah, let's just use this. Let's use this picture. Copy image. So here's how I would do it. For starters, he needs to be leaning over a little bit more, and his legs need to be more dynamic. As it stands, it's a very awkward pose that really doesn't work. I'm sorry. It's a very, very awkward looking pose. So let's see if we can rework it a little bit and kind of get the energy that I think he was going for, or maybe he could have gone for, to hopefully make it look a little stronger. So let's, for starters, I think, again, overall the cat anatomy is fine, so let's just sort of go into that. For starters, I think he needed a more dynamic line of action, so something like this. So he's leaning back a little bit more. I think we'll put the head here. and we'll kind of reshape it in a bit. He does have a very sharp kind of like jawline, like it very much like it comes out and it very much like goes in. As you can see, it's very Lupin actually. He looks kind of he looks like a 1980s teenage Lupin in some shots actually, which is pretty funny. Thank you for the posture check. So, how's everyone doing, actually? I don't think I asked that today. Okay, bye then, Sraku. Take care, my dude. Thanks for hanging out. Hope my tips helped. If they didn't, I'm sorry. Still kind of oh, I'm sorry. Well, I hope that the stream has at least been helping. Speaking of tips, I do in fact accept tips, which are also a way to help support the stream. That was so bad. Anyway, if you look in the top right, we actually have a dono goal, which will let us do another bonus stream, which you guys will be able to vote on. Now that I no longer collaborating money with other people to get us all food, and instead I'm paying for my own food, like completely my own food, just on my own. Money's gonna be a little bit more tight, so support like this helps a ton. Dude, okay, got graduate school I applied to, so that's nice. Yeah, awesome, congrats. I'm kind of picturing Princess, what's her name? Kind of being like huddled up against him. Like she kind of is here, but it's more like she's like ducking for cover. What was her name? Princess 80s Fashion Vomit? That was the Nostalgia Critic gag? Yeah, I'm just gonna call her 80s Fashion Vomit. So I imagine that he's kind of got her like by the shoulder. And he's kind of keeping her close as he's shooting, you know? Or preparing to shoot. Let's maybe angle that arm a little bit more. Maybe angle the head up a little bit more. God damn it, I hate that about using the second screen is on this tablet. Is that this tablet does not like the second screen. It really does like to try and fight it. Don't know how I'm going to afford it, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Student loans, I would imagine. Anyway, on today's it's Princess Lana. Thank you, Princess Lana. But anyway, on today's episode of characters I didn't think I would be drawing on stream today, Captain N! Like, legitimately, I just never figured I would ever have an excuse to bring up Captain N, the Game Master. Thank you very much for the $15 donation from the Great Milk Steak. Don't starve. Same to you, my friend. I think I made the body a little bit too long, even by the standards of the art style, so I'm going to pull it up a little. And kind of reshape the body a little bit, give it a bit more, oof. Again, the legs are, like, really long looking, though. That's kind of the problem when, if you look in the original piece, the legs weren't that long. I'm not really sure how to deal with that. Let me look at kind of the anatomy of the character. So from head to, it gets to about just above the chest. So, yeah, legs are just a little bit too long. So I'm going to pull back on that a bit. And the bottom legs are about just over half of the top leg. So let's see. Yeah, it's about that. I'd say it looks fine. Let's resize again. This one actually I need to okay, let's drag it back up there, and hopefully it'll look a little bit more proportionate to the art style of the show. Not that I'm trying to get one-to-one to the show, but if at the very least I can kind of, in sort of the same way that like Andrew Dobson was kind of, I think maybe he was trying to make it look like the Captain N comics or something. Maybe that's what it was about. I don't know. What I've seen of that show, I can afford to lose a few pounds. Don't worry about it. Boy, you still need to eat. What I've seen of that show, it was kind of like a fever dream mixed with A Night on the Town with the Boys or slash girls. And everyone in between. Yeah, it was, Captain N is a bit of a trek. It's a bit of a journey. It is certainly something. It's kind of enjoyable in that this is really terrible sort of way. Because it's bad. Captain N sucks. I'm sorry, Andrew Dobson, if you're watching this, but Captain N's garbage. But it is very, very enjoyable garbage. If you ever wanted to see Simon Belmont as, like, this absolute, just this, I'm Simon Belmont. It's so funny. Or half of the main cast just they have like the most scratchy, like, annoying, but Princess, the palace is under siege. They couldn't think of a good gimmick for Pitt, so or Kid Icarus as they call it, so they just have him say Icus at the end of almost every one of his sentences. Why? That's such a stupid gimmick. Oh, I don't know. It's plenty of fun, but it's not good, like, at all. It's plenty trash, my dudes. But it is a lot of fun. I also overdid the neck a little and made the head too big. So let's pull that back in. Yeah, and Captain N the Captain N anatomy is mostly solid. I think he got that on quite. I think he got that spot on. Honestly, I think good old Dobbs actually did a pretty okay job with that. It's like or the Captain N proportions, the actual anatomy is mostly fine, except whatever the hell's going on with his arm. Didn't the show's writers base a lot of the characterization off what they can glean from the... Not even! It was very much a lot of the time, they just didn't have a lot of time to figure out how these characters were meant to be done. So, a lot of the time, they had very limited material to work with. Like, in the case of Simon Belmont, there's nothing that is ever stated that he's anything like that in his manual, in any of the Castlevania manuals. As for Pitt, I don't know about the Kid Icarus manuals. I actually, fun fact, as you guys know, in English... Dr. Light, like the character in Mega Man, Dr. Wright is Dr. Light. But in Captain N, they actually call him Dr. Wright because that's what the English manual of Mega Man spells it, even though it's supposed to be light in English. Also, another fun little bit. Basically, they only really had, like, old... cruddy like development material for things like bad box art and things like that to work on. Captain N was a disaster of a production. Deke was impatient with the investment, I guess. It did get 2 seasons, and actually the final episode has the Legend of Zelda characters from the Legend of Zelda cartoon actually show up. Like it's their same voice actors and anything, and that is actually super cool. I actually really like that. I actually really like that they did that because, like, well, we own the license to both the Zelda cartoon and this stupid thing, so why don't we not make them all the same? Like, I mean, they don't exactly look the same. They look a little bit they look more detailed and a lot more anime because, like, Captain N had not so much an anime sensibility to its character designs, but to how it handled a lot of its animation. Because I think it was actually outsourced to a Japanese studio. Which is so funny to me because it's like it's the most not Japanese interpretation of these Japanese video game characters. It's like the most Americanized 1980s interpretation of these characters. I love it so much. It's such an interesting timepiece. I think I might need to actually make the gun smaller because I think I may have oversized it. Yeah, I oversized it. So since we've barely drawn the hand, I'm not all that worried about it. I'll just, Which is better, Captain N? Oh, well, probably Captain N. Like Captain N, I would say, but like it's not exact. That's not exactly a shining review. Now, I think that in terms of like actual like enjoyment factor, it's definitely the CDI games. Like as funny as Captain N is, there are some parts where it does start to grade. Like, oh my goodness, Mega Man and Kid Icarus's voices. Oh, they are unpleasant. Very, very annoying. Mega High! Like, more annoying than Captain Toad. I would say. More annoying than Toad, I would say. At least Toad has the decency to not speak in full sentences most of the time. Yes, most of the time flashes back to Mario Sunshine. What's this icky goop stuff? It's grody! Or it's moving. What is it he says? It's grody or it's moving. I don't remember. Like, I actually do not remember what the line is. It's one of those. Gonna have to make this hand a bit smaller. And then kind of like redraw the wrist. No, he's kind of got like that sort of 80s almond eye kind of look to him, but the eyes are a bit big, which again kind of gives me like a bit of anime vibes. So I might actually, that one picture of him, I might actually pull it up so that I can, at this point this is just me trying to figure out how to draw Captain N rather than talking about Andrew Dobson, isn't it? So yeah, we actually haven't talked a lot about Andrew Dobson, have we? Honestly, I just find his kind of behavior to be disappointing. Frankly, like I said, I actually kind of looked up to him in high school for Lord knows what reason, but I definitely looked up to him in high school, and finding out that he's this kind of like hypocritical kind of criticism averse kind of jerkwad is definitely disappointing to me. I mean, it's funny looking back because I don't know how I didn't notice that after reading his comics. I guess maybe just at the time it was kind of like a reaffirmation in a way of like, oftentimes when I would get artistic critique, I would feel like it's like, oh, well, maybe the person just didn't understand or something. And something about reading that I think really, I'm not still entirely sure who the man with the many names is. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, he's an artist, he's an internet artist who's been active for a very long time. Like we're talking like I think like the early 2000s. And he started on the internet as Caddy N, pretending to be a woman online. Not for any particular reason. I mean, there is, but anyway, it actually ties into the allegations that he fetishizes lesbianism, but I don't want to get too much into the deets of that because that's kind of a serious allegation. I mean, it's not like a you will go to jail serious or anything like that, but that is definitely a very serious thing to say. That aside, then he would eventually like properly come to the internet, and he was sort of quasi well respected. Like he was fairly well respected at first, well respected enough for Brentalfloss to be like, hey, you want to do the art for my comic? And he was like, yeah, sure. And that's actually how I found him. But as time went on, he just kind of seemed to get more and more unstable, like, and more touchy and aggressive with his comic, and handling criticism in a very, very poor manner, and basically acting like he was like the hot, in a maybe not as diabolical way as Butch Hartman, but definitely as a noticeable, very Butch Hartman-esque level of sort of conceitedness, where he would just kind of assume that he knew better than everyone because, I don't know, he was Andrew Dobson, guys, which is so funny to me because I don't know how much stuff he's actually worked on, because he has a BFA in animation, but I can't think of too many projects he's actually worked on outside of his own or the Brentalfloss comic. Actually, yeah, it's so funny. I'm looking at the eyes with like the kind of in some of the episodes, the characters actually have the ovular pupils like I draw. Specifically, I always think of the Zelda episode did that, and that's actually really funny. Anyway. And a lot of people's beef with Andrew Dobson, aside from the fact that, you know, like I said, his comic is Strawman the comic, and like no one wants that, but also just the fact that he's also just the fact that it feels like he could be a much better artist than he is. Like, if you look, what he produces isn't much higher quality. Like on average, what he produces isn't much higher quality than someone like me. And I'm not putting my own art down. But he has way more experience than I do. He's been drawing for much longer. He has far more prestigious, like, educational background than I do. He had, I don't know if he still does, has a larger fan following. He has every reason to want to and to have the drive to improve, but he chooses not to. And that's kind of my main problem. There's just something about his ego. That's what gets me. It's his ego. When it kind of feels like he hasn't really done much to deserve having such a big ego. I'm not saying he can't be proud of his achievements, whatever they may be. I honestly only really know about his own projects, but whatever. But whatever those achievements may be, whatever he's worked on, that you know, he should be allowed to be proud of that. But that doesn't mean he can he's exempt from criticism. B, he has the right to treat people like crap when they criticize his work or his crappy behavior. And C, that doesn't mean that he should just stop trying. That's my main thing. It just feels like he stopped trying after a certain point. And instead became more concerned with getting into arguments with people online and covering his own beliefs and opinions on things. And his pro kind of girl boss, look at me, I am a feminist too. Which is fine. I have no problem with him being a feminist. I mean, it would be kind of silly if I did. It's more... It's more that it feels more like he's doing it to cover his own ass.
Squidward gaming.
But again, for me, it's mostly the ego that gets me. It's his ego. When it feels like he hasn't really done that much to warrant said ego. Not that even if you do have, like, really great achievements, you should be having, like, a super giant ego. Humility is important, kids. But, like, it's just so baffling to me. And disappointing to me. Like I said, I looked up to him. And, you know, when you finally... When the shades come off and you finally realize that this person that you're idolizing is very... His cardinal sin is pride, while Butch Hartman's a sloth. I'd say Butch Hartman's is, like, all of the above, if I'm being honest. But anyway, yeah, it is very much like he's a very prideful man, and it's very disappointing to and distressing, in a way. It was very distressing when I finally kind of realized that the person that kind of, in a way, got me into wanting to do art professional, which by the way, passed me how he spends an entire comic complaining about how being an artist sucks, basically. But anyway, I don't know how that influenced me into wanting to do art, like, with my life. But there you go. That was at least part of it. And it's kind of scary to think that one of the main people who made me want to do art is this raving narcissist who acts like, if you'll forgive me, his crap don't stink. Which, no, that's a terrible attitude to have. You should never assume that you can never improve or get better or smarter, or that you can't take the advice of your peers in mind because, I don't know, they like anime or they like booba girls or something. Or just in general, even if they don't have it, just because they just happen to not think that you did this thing particularly well. I do kind of have similar feelings with Doug Walker. Although with Doug Walker, I would argue it's a much more serious situation. And yes, I know technically he wasn't directly responsible for all that, blah, 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 blah. He was still complicit, is the important thing with Doug Walker. He was still complicit, and that's the problem. And I hate that people forget that. these weird ass 80s shoes? What are these? I can see why Dobson actually simplified the shoes. I don't blame him, honestly. These are very, very strange, complicated shoes. Oh, hi, Style! Shout out to Style the Cutie to see how they like it. Style, you're a cutie, and you're getting shouted out because we love you. In fact, if anything, I imagine those shoes, if they were always animated like that, were probably an absolute nightmare for the animators. Remember, kids, if you're making designs that are going to be used for animations, keep them simple, stupid. Or really any amount of repetitive drawing. Comic books, like comic books, animation, whatever. Just keep it simple, stupid. Yes, isn't it nice? Revengeance! Voltage, you are a cutie. Revengeance. Getting close to your last breath! Oh, his code actually, it kind of, it actually stops fairly early. I drew it kind of like, it's more like around here where it stops. That's interesting. That's a very, very strange design for a code. But then again, it's the 80s. I will say, for like 80s tacular fashion, his design isn't actually too bad. I think it's pretty standard, but like I don't know. I think he looks alright. I think this is an okay character design. There's a reason why there was a game reviewer back in the day who was Captain S. So you're all cuties, no takebacks. Shout out to everyone. Yeah, you can't take it back. She said no takebacks. End of discussion. Also, his shirt goes past his jeans. That's interesting. I never, like it kind of goes here. His sweater kind of goes past here, and this is where the belt would be. That's interesting. Yeah, see, sometimes you just have to thank someone, you know? I'm just gonna, like, real vaguely just... Okay, there. It's... Princess Lana doesn't exist. She's actually just a figment of his imagination. There, Princess 80s fashion vomit. There you go. Who's a better gamer, Kevin or Squidward? Ooh, who is a better gamer? Okay, so on one hand, Squidward's got that sweet, sweet power. Like, he's definitely got power over Kevin. There's no questioning that. Kevin's like an NES. He's a retro gamer. Whereas Squidward has the power of his amazing gaming PC, which he built himself. On the flip side of this, though, Kevin can actually access NES like abilities. Like, he has his controller on his belt, and he has a zapper. The zapper's an actual gun that he can use, and on the control belt, not only can he activate the pause button, the start button, the select button, the jump button, the A button, the B button, and the D-pad, but there's also some extra buttons on the top that he can use. So he gets that point. That's actually hard. Where's my death battle? Squidward versus Kevin Keane. Let chat decide the. All right, we're doing a chat poll slash poll. I said slash poll. Thank you. Enter. Hardcore Gaming Award. Hard Crow. No, I said hardcore. You god damn. Squidward. Kevin. All right. Remember, you can actually pitch biddies to influence the poll. If you see someone that you don't want winning, you can totally cheat. Cheating's okay, kids, as long as you've got a Game Genie, which bits are Game Genies, I guess. Don't tell me what to do. All right, so here's the kind of comparison between the two of them, aside from adding in one or two more little details. Oh, that's interesting. Oh well, let's layer merge with layer below. As you can see, I chose to make aside from the fact that he didn't exactly get Kevin's hair right, but who cares? I chose to give him a more dynamic pose with a little bit more dimension in what he's doing. He's actually like aiming the gun, and he's got a bit of a confident smirk on his face. Kevin was a bit of a show-off. He was a bit of a brag, so I think back from Pupper. Yay, Pupper travels! Give your Pupper a kiss for me. Anyway, he was a bit of a braggart. He was a bit of a show-off, so I imagine he'd be like, haha, it's those bozos. Let's send them to Game Over Town, or something, I don't know. #1 victory royale. Oh wait, no. Fortnite didn't exist yet. Anyway, Anyway, just keeping that in mind, this is my Kevin redraw from the Andrew Dobson piece. Which is funny because I actually think it's one of the more minor thing. What is going on in the background? I think it's supposed to be like a portal. It's a very strange background. Anyway, it's really not the focus of the piece, I guess. So. All right, Squidward won on 4 votes at 80%. Ooh, someone didn't vote for Squidward. One person voted for Kevin. That's interesting. Anyway, so I guess that answers that. Squidward is the ultimate hardcore gaming icon that we all need in our lives. I think we're gonna do one more of each type of critique. That's the portal to hell. Yeah, it leads you to Mother Brain. I will be the ruler of Video Land. I think I'm gonna do one more of each, and we're gonna call it a night. Methinks. This one is actually of a character of mine. This was done by Kaze, our good buddy, pal, Kaze. And before we get into that, I actually have to use the bathroom, so I will be right back. As I usually let folks know when I go to the bathroom. I do in fact accept tips, which are an awesome way to help support the stream. I will be right back. ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Apologies for being gone for a little long. Yes, this is in fact a cutie drawn by a cutie. So we've got Buttons here. Buttons is a good bean. Buttons is a wonderful bean. And Kaze decided to draw Buttons. So, first of all, this piece is adorable. It's super cute. Thank you very much for the $10 donation for the great milk steak. I can't think of a clever comment. I just want you to afford to eat. Oh, thank you. You have pitched $50 tonight, dude. Make sure to have some money for yourself, but I do very much appreciate it. So my main issues with the are, if it helps, I can send over the image. I think I know the image, but if you want, send that over to my Discord or put it in the thing. Beans. Yeah, you can send it over, so I can kind of get an idea. I'm gonna look for one of the sort of Buttons ref images. Now, this is an old pic of Buttons, but his design has changed a bit since then. Let's see if I can find one of the older pics of Buttons I could use as a reference image on my hard drive. What's the problem? Most of these are action shots. DM'd it? Okay. Yes, he's cute. He's good. I love him. He is my baby, and I will protect him. Oh, you're referencing a pose of... okay. Yeah, sure. That'll, So there's that. Let's see if, again, I can find a Buttons ref. On my hard drive, which I swear I had. It should be on here, but here we go. I couldn't find one of the older ones, so we'll go with the newer design Buttons. It's really not a huge deal. So, oh, this is a JPEG, unfortunately, because this was I drew this on the old hard drive and had to carry this one over. All right, let's get a drawing. Yes, he is. Is he named Buttons because he has cuts on his coat, or is it because he has a cute butt? It's because, okay, so the nickname Buttons was a nickname I got because whenever I would go to these local fur meets, I'd always wear a hat with a lot of buttons on it. So I decided to give that name to him, and his main gimmick is, yes, he's got the buttons on his coat because those are all a different weapon. He basically pulls off a button and he can turn it into a weapon. Alright, so I could definitely see the influence of the pose. If I was to kind of look back at it and kind of take a sketch, I think there's a couple of things. One is naturally the anatomy. It's actually not too bad. I don't think it's too bad overall for the kind of style you're going for. Though in some areas, I think you could use a bit more depth. Mostly on the face, I would think. Well, I definitely see what you're trying to do, where it's you're trying to kind of emulate, or the way I draw Buttons is I just kind of give them a line, a little nose, unlike Fox, where I give them a more proper muzzle. I do still draw out the shape of the muzzle, so let's just kind of let's just get to work. I think it'll be better if I just show. Something you'll notice about the Robin picture compared to the picture that you sent me, Kaze, which, again, I love this picture, it's so cute, is that if you look, the waist and the hips are both straight, where if you look at the Robin picture, they're both angled. At different angles, actually, I should mention, which helps to make it look more dynamic and have a little bit more depth. I keep having to like redraw the lines. I was like, oh, but actually the shoulder should go there. Oh, but actually the shoulder should go there. I am an amazing artist, guys. I swear. Something I actually appreciate about the piece that you did over the original render is that you kept the book open. I mean, that would make sense. He's reading from the spell book and using it, right? So that would make more sense. But here it's like closed. It's a little weird. It's a small thing, just something I noticed. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but in the song I'm listening to now, it sounds like the backing track is like a bottle of soda being poured into a cup. I don't know if that's just me hearing that, but like that's definitely what it sounds like. You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? You probably couldn't even hear me there. I gotta make his legs a little shorter because if you actually look at Buttons, his legs are not that long. They're actually quite short. So let's fix that. Let's bring it all in. Because Buttons is little. He's not Fox little, but he is little. He isn't all that big.
Squidward Gaming. Ha 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 ha.
Squidward Gaming. Ha. Okay, so now we're getting into something I think you may have had some difficulty with. It was the actual like perspective on the piece. I'm assuming here that he's meant to be kind of pointing forward in a way that kind of Robin is. And to be fair, as I said earlier, perspective is hard. It is very difficult to get down, and even I have a lot of trouble with it. But what I normally do is, as you can see, his arms are bent a little, so I kind of keep that in mind, and then sort of start breaking into the basic shapes of where I think more or less the skeleton of the drawing, and then I draw through that way to get the kind of perspective. It doesn't always work. Oh, thank you, Style. So are you. Okay, see you later, Corgus. Actually, his hands gotta be much bigger. I'm just gonna redo it because I honestly don't even like how I drew the hands there. Aside from the fact that's literally just the perspective. He has big old hands. He got big old like cartoon hands, so I shouldn't be as afraid to draw big old cartoon hands. No, he has all four. Okay, never mind. I was trying to remember if he only had 3 or 4 digits, but no, he's got all 4. Another thing, if you look, Robin's arm is much closer to their body, whereas you kind of had it splayed. And arguably, you could argue that it does create for like a decently clean silhouette, but it isn't as like dynamic, I would say. Though it's not bad. It's not a bad kind of interpretation of that. Button's spell book. I like that it's literally like Button's spell. It's like, don't touch. This is my spell book. If any else of you use it, you die. Well, no, he would never do that. He's too soft. Buttons is too good for his own. Well, good. It's gonna get him killed someday. Maybe it will. I don't know. Probably not. So again, I'm having the book actually open, like how you drew it in your pick, because I like that better, because, I mean, it would make sense, right? He would be wanting to read the book to use his spells. Robin, open your book! You're gonna get attacked! Open your book! If you would be holding it like this, though, chances are at least 1 or 2 pages would be kind of out of the way. They'd be kind of like this. Kind of, yeah, something like this. It's kind of flopping all over the place. Neck's a little long, so let's, there we go. So, Kaze, so far, do you have any questions? Nothing specific? Okie doke. If you do, please feel free to bring them up so that I can address them more properly. Same with anyone else. If any of you have questions about like if I move too fast or it feels like I'm not explaining anything properly, please let me know so that I can reiterate or explain better or whatever have you. With the magic effect, I do like the idea that it's blue, yellow, and red because A, it corresponds with his buttons, and B, I think I drew a picture of him using that kind of magic. But with it just kind of being a bit of a colored blob, it does look a little weird and could potentially affect the silhouette. Maybe instead of having it just being like a shine or like a bolt or something out of the end of his finger, especially since he's pointing, I think that could actually help a lot. But again, I like the idea. I like that it's like this kind of red blue. I mean, it makes sense. I like it. It's a nice visual. It's a nice idea for visuals. Very good. Very good, my dude. Thank you, Voltage. I do actually need to stretch. I'm feeling a little bit stiff. So I'm gonna do that. Okay. Now as for the folds, I do like you did do it where it's like kind of splayed out. Clothing folds would be probably a little bit more clothing folds are a little bit more unpredictable than that. It wouldn't be quite this symmetrical. If you look at Robin, it sort of goes down. This other side's going up. It's kind of going all over the place. Clothing is actually very hard to draw. It's especially long draped clothing, especially since you have to consider that sometimes the way that clothes are draped aren't going to work the same as others. Like Button's wearing a hoodie. It probably isn't going to react the same way that Robin's coat is. But it still probably wouldn't be this symmetrical. I imagine that since he's using kind of magic here, maybe there's a kind of a whoosh kind of thing going on. So the idea of it kind of lifting up his shirt a little bit, it's not a bad one. Something I probably could have done was had his hair kind of reacting to the magic, but I didn't. Oopsie poopsie. So let's kind of have it be something like this, where it kind of it's a bit thicker, so it kind of catches up and does something like that. And then we kind of see the back, it sort of floats around a little bit, and then the other side, if we were to draw through, kind of ends over here and kind of flays off. Let me kind of go back and see where, because I have a feeling I may not have done that as well as I would have liked. Yeah, it's looking a little awkward. Like I said, clothing folds are hard. But you get kind of the idea. Not only would clothing not really be all that symmetrical as it folds. This is a very common mistake. As it folds, but also different types of clothing react to wind differently. Wind or being moved around or whatever differently, so it's important to do research on that if you can. It's kind of hard because looking that up specifically, there isn't exactly a lot of great resources for, hey, can I find a specific windswept reference for a hoodie? It's it doesn't there really isn't a lot of options. I'm just gonna put him in that kind of outfit that I had designed for him a while ago. His head actually needs to be bigger, but for the kind of art style for Buttons, it needs to be just a little bigger, not too much. See if there's a tail there. Let's have his tail kind of curl up. Just kind of for the sake of making the picture a little bit more dynamic. I'm having his tail move around a little bit. I made his tail a little bit too big here. Because Button's tail is not super huge. I mean, it's about as big and foofy in proportion to his body. That makes sense. So there we go. Something like that's a little bit closer. Yeah, so yeah, that's closer, I would say. So there we go. We got his tail. Keeping the perspective on his hoodie. As you can see, the folds of the hoodie would probably be a little bit more but it's a stylistic thing. Again, however many folds you feel like you need to draw in, and however much you feel again, it's a stylistic thing. His shirt would probably, his lower shirt would probably also be reacting, but I've never been, good at figuring out how to go about doing that, so I'm just kind of gonna have it be like that, and then there's his kind of jeans underneath. The clothing folds are difficult. If I remember correctly, he actually wears like kind of like in that design. I think it's actually wearing like shorts. Actually, I think I said jeans, but if I remember correctly, that those clothes I made for him, I think he's wearing shorts, which would also be kind of blowing around. Okay, this isn't anything specific to the critique. This is me trying to stay consistent. Practice what I because I'm not going to critique if you're using the old buttons design when you drew this like forever ago.
Gaming.
Okay. I also noticed that we're only at 3 viewers, so I might just end after the buttons art, mostly because I don't want to bore you guys looking for like forever for another Dobson piece, and I feel like that Captain N one was kind of a good capstone now that I'm really thinking about it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Besides, we're going on like 4 hours, so. Oh god, this is the song with the flies. Ugh, I hate this song. Okay. I think his nose is just a triangle. Yeah, it's just a little triangle. Right at the end. It's like right here. And he's got the kind of Ash Ketchum things under his cheeks. The I honestly don't find those are that interesting to critique. If you're tired, you get into the night. Okay, yeah, I think now might be a good time to wrap up. It seems like everyone's kind of gone home. I think the kind of difficulty with a lot of Andrew Dobson is that a lot of why so much of his stuff came to light is very it's a lot of like controversy and a lot of like not in like the same way of like say Butch Hartman or Ken Penders. In Butch Hartman's case, it's like it's so widespread and it affected so many people, and in Ken Pender's case, it's such a deeply personal topic to me. But in case of Andrew Dobson, it's like, or Tom Preston, it's just there's so much it's so much insular arguing and people just hating his work and him just being a jerk, and just it's such a pain in the ass to keep track of. I do hope you guys had a good time, though, because I had a really good time. Just sitting here talking with you guys, doing the art. This was a lot of fun. I had. I didn't get as over the top, angy at the art that we talked about as before, like with Butch Hart. I still think Butch Hartman was the most fun. I'm here, kind of feeling under the weather. You know, also a streamer. I like watching you, Archie. Oh, thank you very much. I'm not always chill. Sometimes things get absolutely ridiculous. But thank you very much. Voltage, I very much appreciate the compliment. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. There's I should probably draw his buttons. That might help. Just kind of tiny little things right here. There we go. Okay, so that is kind of my corrections. Now, if I wasn't having that's fair. I mean, still not feeling amazing, but it did make it at least make for a nice night. Well, that's good to again. I say corrections. That's not the correct word. Ironically, it's not the correct word. Here's the I guess the sort of the critique is a better way to put it. The critique. As you can see, I added in a little bit more depth to the pose by having his kind of like knees a little bit more bent in, like kind of both going this way along with his hips, like in the original piece. Although I did angle his foot a little bit more differently. I had the magic more coming from the thumb because it's a little bit from the pointer finger, because it does make more sense when he's pointing. I feel like it should probably be doing that. I gave him, obviously, I exaggerated his face a little bit more, giving him kind of like a wider mouth and obviously the bigger eyes. While that's more like I'm trying to keep in line with the button style thing, I do still feel like that for your art, Kaze, I feel like that would be kind of a good direction to take, would be to do that would be to consider sort of trying to remember larger eyes and mouth for what you're going for. I think could help make your art look even more expressive and adorable. As you can see, there's a bit more depth with buttons kind of pointing forward, and his arms kind of behind his chest here, rather than it all being kind of stuck out, creating a kind of a 2D kind of static effect. It is in fact a really cute piece. And of course the jacket, it isn't quite as symmetrical with the way that it's kind of folding. Because of the magic. In the original picture that you drew, it's very symmetrical. It just kind of flares off to the side. Here, it's more like it's think of it kind of like water. With water, it like water flows, right? It flows. It's like it comes in waves. That's kind of what this would be like here. So if this was animated, his shirt would be like this, then it would be like this, then it would be like this, like, you know what I mean? It would probably be flopping all around rather than just kind of be floating there like. I think what actually helps a lot to do something like this is imagine the drawing in motion. At least in my experience, I find that helps, but like, that's just me. So yeah, my overall tips would be to focus on adding in a little bit of extra depth, not just in terms of like the shapes themselves, because I could tell it does seem like you did actually draw through with the basic shapes, but also just considering the different kind of dimensionality of the pose, consider the angle of the hips, the waist, the head, that sort of thing. So study your angles, basically. Study clothing folds and things like that. And don't be afraid to exaggerate a little bit more. Push those poses, push those faces a little bit more. Beyond that, I think it's got like really good aesthetic appeal. I think obviously you got the buttons colors down pat, and I think that you've got like a very cute style that I really, really like. See, if you keep working on it, I think you can have something really, really amazing here, Kaze. So just overall adorable. Yeah, the piece is adorable, has good aesthetic appeal, and it's a good silhouette because everything, except for maybe the blobby hand, everything is clear. If I was to turn this completely black, I would be able to tell what's going on. It's, oh, he's pointing and he has a book. I'd be able to tell. So there's definitely that. I think the fly song did end. I don't know. All right, there we go. Let's lower this here. I mean, still not feeling that. It does all make sense though. Thank you. Okay, as long as it makes sense. That's the important thing. We're gonna bump these up so there's a whole bunch of dead white space. Hang on, age, change canvas size. Okay, awesome. Yeah, graphic design's quite good. I like the design in the background. That's really nice. I like the design in the background. I think it looks quite good. I'm actually not crazy about my personal graphic design. I don't think it looks very good. All right. With that said, though, I think that's all she wrote for today. We got our things done. The art will be going in the Discord. And that will be that. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching. I want to thank Milksteak for the ridiculous amount of donations, and to Voltage Circle for resubbing, and everyone for hanging out. All the people who submitted their art for critique. I hope that you learned something, because I certainly did. It's always nice to be doing this because it kind of gets my brain in the thinking mood, you know? Like it gets the juices going, and I learn as you guys learn. Or at the very least, I relearn as you guys learn, you know? With that said, though, the stream is now at an end, but I'm not going to leave you without someone to watch, so good night, everyone. I hope you feel better. Yeah, I also hope you feel better, Kaze. But I'm not going to leave you guys without someone to watch, so let's see if anyone will stream in row. Pierce is streaming, so I'm going to send you guys over to him. Abyss is playing with them tonight, too, so that's exciting. Okay. There's Pierce. Thank you all for hanging out for me. This was a great stream. I had a lot of fun. Don't really have much else to say. I love you all. Bye-bye!